What's up, YouTube? In this video, you are going to learn about One Punch Man. Actually, no, you're going to learn about dictionaries. And without dictionaries, I wouldn't be able to read this manga because it would be too complicated to read it in Japanese and I don't know all of the words yet. So I need a dictionary, and you will need dictionaries too if you want to become a good C# developer. So that's what this video will be about. I hope you will enjoy it. And if you do, then please hit that like button. That really helps us out. And yeah, it helps us to create more amazing content in the future. So let's check out what dictionaries can do for you, how you can use them, and a lot more. Let's get started. In this lesson, we'll discuss how the generic version of hashtables looks like, and the generic version of hashtable is dictionary. In case you're wondering what a hashtable is, check out our video on hashtables. You'll find the link in the info card. So we're going to see how to use dictionaries in this video. So similar to a hashtable, a dictionary will store its value in a key value pair. The key value pair for auto would be car. Okay, so the key would be auto, which is the German word for car, and then car is going to be the value that is inside of this dictionary. Okay, so that's a real world dictionary, a German English dictionary, for example. But now we're going to use programming dictionaries, so C# dictionaries, which have a key value pair like we have here, where we store the value assigned at a specific key. Okay, so let's go ahead and define a dictionary. So from the Microsoft documentation, the dictionary is defined like so. Dictionary, TKey, TValue. So what that basically means is that we need to specify the types of both our keys and values in the declaration, similar to how we did it, for example, for a list. Okay, so a list also needed to have a specific type. A list could be of type integer, it could be of type string, it could be of type object, and so forth. But we needed to define of what type this list has to be. The same goes for dictionary, but there we have to define it for the key as well as for the value. Okay, so that's basically what this TKey and TValue means. Okay, so that means that we have a lot of flexibility, but not the flexibility that we had in a hash table. So we basically can go ahead and create a dictionary like this one here, where we say that the key will be of type integer and the value will be of type string. And of course, in order to use dictionaries, we need to make sure that we have using system.collections.generic. So you see, a dictionary is a generic collection. We saw in another video that there is a difference between generic and non-generic collections. So hashtables are non-generic collections and dictionaries are generic collections. So they have all of the advantages and disadvantages. So now this dictionary will have an integer, a number, so to speak, and a value that will be a string. So the number will be the key and the string will be the value. Now here we're creating this dictionary called my dictionary, and we're initializing it with an empty dictionary straight away. At this point, we can then go ahead and use this dictionary. So we can add values to that dictionary. We can, for example, also already define the values of that dictionary straight away. So in the same line, basically right here. So we could, for example, just say, okay, this is going to be how the dictionary is going to look like, where we have an integer and a string. So we have the 1 being this integer here, the key, and the 1 being the text for it would be the value. So now we have the integer type and then the spoken English word for whatever this integer is. Okay, so 1 would be 1, 2 would be 2, 3 would be 3, and so forth. Now, of course, dictionaries are not limited to integers and strings. We can use much more complex values that we are storing. Okay, so for example, let's consider this class here. So I'm creating a new class called employee. I'm going to put it in the same file, but of course you could create a separate file. So we have a few properties like role, name, age, and rate for every single employee. Okay, and then we have the salary, which is a float, and it returns the rate of 8 times 5 times 4 times 12. Okay, so whatever the rate is times this value is going to be what we're going to store or get as the salary. So if we were to retrieve the salary, it will directly calculate the salary for us. So that's 8 hours times 5 days times 4 weeks times 12 months. So that's how it's going to calculate basically the yearly salary, so to speak. Of course, times the rate. So now let's say we have a database of employees. Okay, let's assume that this is going to be our database of employees. And by the way, I just realized that I missed the rate here when creating the constructor. So this constructor is just going to also use the rate now and assign the rate here. And now we can use our data from the database. Okay, so we have the database where we get the title, we get the name, we get the, what is it? The age, super old lady, 95 years old. And then we have her rate. So she has a rate of 200. Then we have the manager Joe, who's 35, has a rate of 25, and so forth. Quick pause. In this video, you'll learn something about C#. And if you want to learn everything there is to know that you need for the fundamentals and to become a real C# developer, then definitely check out my C# Masterclass, in which you're going to learn all of the things you need to know about C#. So you're going to learn how to do the basics, how to use object-oriented programming, how to use WPF in order to create your own user interfaces, how to use databases, how to use LINQ, how to create your own games using Unity, and a lot more. So if you want to become a real C# developer, definitely check out the link in the description below. So now what I'm going to do is I'm not going to use this dictionary here. I'm going to create a separate dictionary that I'm going to call employees directory. And that employees directory will basically have a key value pair of string employee. So it will store for a specific string the entire employee object. And I'm going to call this employees directory. Okay, and the string that we're going to use is going to be the employees role. Okay, so here I'm going to use this for each loop that will now go through every single employee in my employees database. So this is my employees database. I'm faking it, so to speak, right? It's going to go through every single item of that employees database, and it's going to add to my employees directory at the position or at the key of the role, the employee itself. Okay, so for here we're assuming that for every single role, we only have one employee. Otherwise, this would screw the whole system up. So this is an example of how we can create a dictionary with data from a fake database, which is basically just going to be an array of employees that we have defined here. So now what if we want to get the data from a dictionary? So we want to fetch data from a dictionary. And let's say we want to fetch data of the employee that is the CEO. So that has the position of the CEO. Then we can go employee. I'm going to call this one empl. And we get it from the employees directory. And here we just say, okay, I want to have the CEO. So I want to know the person and maybe also the entire object actually of that person that has CEO as their title, basically just saying where the key is going to be CEO for my dictionary employees directory. There I want to know who is the CEO and want to store the entire employee in an object. So now I can go ahead and display the details of that employee using a console write line statement like so. So here I say the employee name, which will be empl name, then the role as well as the salary. So this will be displayed. Okay, so basically it will get the salary based on the rate and this calculation here. It will get the role directly and it will get the name directly from the employee object itself. So from this empl object. Okay, so now let's run this real quick and see what Gwyn is gonna earn, considering that she works full time. And we can see she has a salary of 384,000. Her name is Gwyn, her role is CEO. So running this code works, as you see. There's no problem here. But the problem could be that we are entering a wrong value. So let's say instead of CEO, I'm searching for the CTO, so for the technical officer, so the chief technical officer. And if I run this, you see my application crashes. So it says CTO was not present in the dictionary. So the key was never given. So in order to fix that, we can basically check if the key exists. So here, what would be a very good way of checking this would be to create a key called CEO, or a string called key, which has the value of CEO. And then we check the employees directory for that particular key. So here you see contains key is one of the favorite or favorized options here. So contains key, and then here we can pass the string that we want to check as the key. So does it contain the key called CEO? If it does, then run this code here. And if it doesn't, then don't run it. Or you could, of course, also just say this key doesn't exist. So now you could create a little application that is going to allow you to enter a key, and then your application would check, okay, does this exist or not? And by the way, here, this should be replaced with key. It's not going to be hard-coded anymore. Well, it's hard-coded at another point, so to speak. But this could be something that we get from user input, or the user can select it from a UI or something like that. And then the application would retrieve the data and display this instead of just in a console application in an actual UI. And you will later see how to use UIs or how to build UIs using WPF. So that is one way of getting around the problem. Another way would be to use something called try get value. Okay, so let me quickly add a little bit of code and go over it. So let's say we have this empty employee, which I call result, and it's empty because I set it to null. And then I'm checking the employees directory if it has the value called intern. And I'm using this try get value method. So this try get value method will return a Boolean, which is great because that's what an if statement likes to have in the condition. And it will print out the result, and it will put the value into result. So this result will actually be an employee. So try get value will try to get the value that we pass here. And if it worked, the Boolean will return true. So this if statement will be executed. And at the same time, it will put the result into this variable. So the out will be put into this result variable. So the value that we retrieve from our employees directory will be stored in result. Okay, so that's what this statement here says. And if it worked, in fact, and intern does exist, then this code will be executed. And otherwise, this code will be executed. So this key does not exist. So that would be just another way of getting around the same issue. So try get value also works well. So value retrieved, employee name Ernest, intern 22, and he gets a salary of 15,000 euros a year, or whatever type of money you want to talk about here. Okay, so now let's dig a little bit deeper, because we can also get an element with the element at method. So an element of our dictionary. So as we learned, or as you learned, a dictionary is going to use structs here. So a dictionary is a collection of key value pairs, which is a struct that is defined like a key value pair that is going to look something like this here. So let's look at it, this here. So we have the key and the value. So this is the key value pair. So that's what a dictionary is containing. So let's look at this for a loop here. And we can actually put it right here. So this for loop, what it will do is it will use this element at method. However, in order to use it, we will need to implement link. So for now, just accept that link is a powerful tool that allows us to work with collections in a very efficient way. And we will have an extra chapter later on where we will look into links specifically. But for now, let's just accept it as that. Okay, so once you get to the later chapters, you will learn more about it, and then this will make more sense. Okay, so in our case, in this particular example where we have our key value pair with the key and value, where TKey is the type of our keys of our dictionary. And the same goes for the TValue, which is the value of our dictionary. Now in our case, it's string and employee if we look at it. Okay, so for our dictionary that we created here, it's string and employee. But internally, behind this string key, there is also an integer value. So a number, so to speak. Okay, so let's say at position 0 will be the CEO, at position 1, the manager, at position 2, the HR person, at position 3, the secretary, and so forth. Okay, even though they will all be at the position, so at the key of their role, but internally they will also be at a number. So the key will also be a number internally. So that's exactly what we can use for this element at. So this element at, if you hover over it, returns the element at a specified index in a sequence. Okay, so a dictionary is a sequence, so it will return basically our employee at position 0, our employee at position 1, our employee at position 2, and so forth. However, this will return a key value pair. Okay, and the key value pair that we are going to create here is going to be of type string and employee. So now we can display the key, and then we can get the value of our employee at our key value pair at the value position, because we get it from our element at. Okay, this is a little more complicated, but basically it is just another way to access an item inside of your dictionary, not using the key as a string, but the key as an integer. And this goes for all different kinds of keys. So no matter what type you used for the key, there's always a number assigned to it as well. So even if this was of type object, or if this was of type double or whatever, there is always an integer assigned to it, which is allowing us to use this element at I. Okay, so let's go through this, and you will see that it will basically allow us to display all employees. So it goes through all employees in our list. So I believe it goes all the way up to here. Okay, so it shows us all of the employees that we have in there. And it even starts a little further up. So this is basically the list that we are getting from this for loop. Okay, so you can use a for loop to get through an entire list of dictionaries. You can of course use a for each loop as well, but you can also access items using element at I, and then you can store it in an employee object, because the value is going to be in fact of type employee, because that's what we defined here. Now if you look at the key, let's run it again. You can see here key CEO, key manager, key HR, key secretary. Now we could also print the I if you wanted to. So here, like so, print, well, actually, let's just print it here. I is, and then I will be the second entry, like so, and then we print I. Okay, so then you can directly see which integer value is assigned to a specific position. So the CEO is at position 0, the manager is at position 1, the HR person is at position 2, and so forth. Okay. All right, so that's it for this video. I think it's a long enough video to go over dictionaries, at least at this point. So in the next video, we're going to look at how we can update an existing dictionary. So how we can update the value of a dictionary, and then also see how we can remove data from a dictionary. Quick pause. In this video, you learn something about C#. And if you want to learn everything there is to know that you need for the fundamentals and to become a real C# developer, then definitely check out my C# Masterclass, in which you're going to learn all of the things you need to know about C#. So you're going to learn how to do the basics, how to use object-oriented programming, how to use WPF in order to create your own user interfaces, how to use databases, how to use LINQ, how to create your own games using Unity, and a lot more. So if you want to become a real C# developer, definitely check out the link in the description below. Welcome back. In the last video, we looked at dictionaries and we learned how to create dictionaries, how to assign values to dictionaries, how to iterate through dictionaries. We saw how to use this element I in order to get the ID, so to speak, of a dictionary key item or of each item. And now we're going to look at how we can update and remove data from a dictionary. So it's actually quite trivial. So let's say we have the following situation. We want to update a specific key. So we want to update a position at a specific key, and that will be a little further down here. So here we have the HR key, that is the one that we want to update. So we can check if there is in fact an employee in the directory that contains this key. Okay, so we check if this key to update, in this case HR, exists. And if it exists, then we want to execute some code. And what we want to do is we want to replace Laura with a different employee. So now Laura will be replaced with a new employee called, in order to update an array, we can just say the dictionary name, then the key name where we want to update something, and then assigning the value that we want to put into its place. So at this position that is going to be the key HR, we are going to put this new employee object. So we're going to say now, instead of having the old person in HR, which was Laura, we're going to replace her with the younger Elika. Okay, so that's what this code will do for us. So that's how you can update an entry, basically dictionary name, key name in squared brackets, and then whatever you want to assign to it. Now the value that you're assigning to it has to, of course, follow the same type that the dictionary was defined with. So in our case, it has to be of type employee, and this is in fact of type employee. So now we can, of course, also print that into our console like so. Employee with role key 0 was updated at the position key to update. Okay, so in this case, at HR was updated. And then if that didn't work, we can, of course, also print an error message here saying, okay, sorry, the employee not found with this key. And like so. And I have one too many, I think, like so. This will fix the error. Okay, so let's run this real quick to see how we can update it. And you see here at the very top, employee with role key HR was updated. Now let's look at the HR person. Where is she? She's here. It's Elika, age 26, with a salary of 35,000 roughly. Okay, so the update worked, and we can see it in our list of all update or all employees, because that's where we got all employees from. So now let's say we want to remove an item from our dictionary. Okay, because here, this is the for each loop that we use to add all of the items, all of the employees to our dictionary. Then we edited one. So this is where we update. And now let's look at how we can remove. And in order to remove, we also need to have a string that will be the key that we want to replace, because, well, we have a key value pair in our case, that the key is a string. And that's what we use here. And then we can also check if that actually works. So the thing is, the remove method, if you look at it, it actually has, or it returns a Boolean. So hovering over remove, you will see it returns a Boolean, which means that it either removed it or it didn't remove anything. So if it removed something, what we're going to do is we're just going to say that at the key, in this case intern, the person was removed. Maybe their internship was over, let's say after 6 months or whatever. Now we can delete that intern from our database. Okay, so let's run this again. In our case, not database, but dictionary. Okay, so here at the top, you see intern was removed. And now let's see if we can find an intern. And I believe we don't have an intern in our database here. Okay, so we have the CEO, the HR person, the secretary, as well as the lead developer. And now, of course, if it didn't work, we can have this else statement. So if no, then print an error message saying no employees found with this key. And the key that we are looking at is the key to remove, which will be our intern key, which is basically this one here. So I hope you recall that we used the role of the person as their key in the company. So once again, this example is really just to demonstrate the features of C# that you have here. This is not how you would write this. So I would not recommend to use the role as the key for your data structure, because the role is usually something that many people can have. So you can have multiple people having the role of intern. You can have multiple lead developers in a company or multiple junior developers and so forth. So that's something you have to be super wary about. Now, I would always recommend to use an ID as the key. Okay, so something like an integer, where you assign an ID to every single employee. But this was just to show you that you have a lot of flexibility. You can use strings as your keys, you can use integers as your keys, and so forth. All right, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Now you know how to create a dictionary and how to use dictionaries. And now you can create a dictionary so that I can read One Punch Man and finally finish this book, because it has been laying around there for a while. Actually, I could probably finish it now already, but still, it's always good to keep on going and improving and learning new stuff. And dictionaries is definitely something that you will need throughout your career as a C# developer. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, then please hit the like button and the subscribe button. It really helps us out, and it will help you out in the future as well. Once we upload even more cool videos every single week, there are a bunch of new videos coming up. And also, if you loved our content or love our content in general, check out the link in the description to get the C# Masterclass with a high discount. So it's definitely going to help you out to become an even better developer. So if you love the videos that we create, then check out the course. And now check out one of the other two videos. And yeah, thanks a lot for watching the video again.